Today, on the Vince Everett Ellison Show, we're going to talk about how these low-down, dirty Democrats are trying to castrate and feminize men here in America. Yeah, we're going to talk about that today. Now, I want you to like, subscribe, and comment on this because you know the big tech people don't like me and they're going to try to ban me, but we're not going to allow that to happen, okay? So we're going to talk about how the Democratic Party is trying to feminize and castrate the men of America today on the Vince Everett Ellison Show. All right, let's get this thing started. You know, in our Bible, talks a lot about manhood and being men. It was a situation in the Bible where King David was dying. And the king understood that when he died that there's going to be a lot of people fighting for his throne. David was a very, very good king. He was not a very good father. Man, his children were all over the place. Absalom had one boy raped his sister, and Absalom killed him. And I mean, it was just chaos in David's kingdom because of his family. And this same thing was happening at the time of his death. Solomon was the chosen one. But Solomon's brother had been making plans to take the throne. And David called Solomon up. He knew Solomon was going to have a lot of problems. And this is what he told Solomon, his son, on his deathbed before he died. This is in 1 Kings 2:1-4. It says, now the days of David drew nigh, that he should die. And he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man. And keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments, and his judgments, and his testimonies, and it is written in the laws of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whatsoever thou turnest thyself, that the Lord may continue his word, which he spake concerning me, saying, if thou, children, take heed to their way, to walk before me in truth, with all their heart and soul. And whatsoever thou turnest thyself, that the Lord may continue in his word, which he spake. David told his boy, show thyself a man. And how are you supposed to be a man? He said, keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways. Keep his statutes and his commandments. Show thyself a man. Jesus talked a little bit about being a strong man. In Matthew 12:29, he was given a parable of how to keep sin away and how to keep Satan away. He said, or else how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house. So how do you spoil the house? You have to first bind the strong man. Yeah, the Democratic Party has done everything in their power to bind the strong man. Yeah, the Democratic Party has done all its good, everything in its power to take away the definition of what a man even is. They say there's no definition to it. Yeah, the Democrat Party, them again. Party of perverts, liars, psychopaths, and anti-Christian bigots. Just so you'll know who I'm talking about, it's the party slavery from 1800 to 1860, the party of the Confederacy from 1860 to 1865, the party of Jim Crow from 1865 to 1965. Now it's a part of transgenderism, murder, abortion up to the 9th month, want to castrate little boys, call them little girls, give double mastectomies little girls, call them little boys. Yeah, that party. And now they want to tell you that there's no definition to a man or a woman. Now, what kind of sense does that make? If you got any doubt about it, check your equipment. It'll tell you exactly who you are. It don't take long. Just duck your head, look down, be all you need to know. Oh, not them. That's a little bit too simple for those pack of weirdos. I mean, just a bunch of weirdos, man. I turn on the TV. You can't turn on TV without seeing them fighting, raising hell. They're on the college campuses now raising hell. Children can't even go to school. They're paid $50,000, $60,000 a year to go to college. And you can't go to school because they on the college campuses raising hell. I wish one of them step up to me raising hell like that. See what I do to them. Trying to walk the class all in your face, talking about we Hamas, we Hamas. Not knowing that Hamas would kill them the first 15 seconds after they saw them. All of the little transgenders and homosexuals and whatnot, Hamas would kill all of them. Amazingly, the people that would treat them nice would be the Jews in Israel. The ones that would kill them will be Hamas. And they on Hamas' side. You see how crazy they are? Talking about queer for Palestine. Take your little queer behind to Palestine, see how long you last. Matter of fact, I want you to call me when you decide to go to Palestine and let them know that you queer and you come to Palestine, because I want to be able to take a picture of what they do to you. You won't be queer for very long in Palestine, I tell you that. You people, they're crazy. And then the biggest mistake we make, y'all, is that we take them seriously. Well, y'all take them seriously. I don't take them seriously. I don't even talk to them. I got one sentence for them all the time. You better get out my face. Leave me alone. And I'm not going to tell you but once. I'm not going to argue with you. So now they got this thing where they want to take away manhood. They call it toxic masculinity. Now, why would they want to do that? Well, I'll tell you why. Yeah, I got a little age on me, and I saw this coming a long time ago. When I was a little boy, they had these feminists and these women liberals coming up. They burning bras and marching in the street. And Gloria Steinem and all of them, they mad about something. I don't know what the hell they's mad at, but they was mad about wanting to be equal to men. ERA, equal rights amendments, all that kind of stuff was going on. And I'm sitting there watching this little boy, and I said, boy, that just don't make no sense to me. What are they talking about? And my mama told me, oh, this is a bunch of fools. I don't know what they're talking about. But these women were involved in the civil rights movement. And this wasn't so much just about women becoming empowered. It was about the destruction of the family and then the family unit as we knew it. And when you destroy the family unit, you basically destroy a country. Can't survive without it. Everything in society is about the maintenance of the family. And for 6,000 years, it worked. Mother, father, children, grandparents. Works fine. Then all of a sudden, a bunch of communists decided to come in and want to shake up America. How'd they do it? Well, they went in and got a bunch of ugly women. Most of them ugly women too, man. I'm just going to tell you. Who felt bad about being women. And got them all hyped up and telling them that, you ain't equal to men and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You want to work in the coal mine. You want to be a police officer. You want to be a soldier. You don't make nearly as much as a man. You want to be able to have as much sex with as many men as you want to and not get pregnant. You don't want to have to get married in order to have a family or you don't want no man to have to take care of all this kind of stuff. And these women, yeah, that's right. So they all went crazy and started wanted to use the law to make this happen. So what's the first thing they did? The first thing they did was they got hold to this government program called AFDC, Aids to Families with Dependent Children. AFDC started out as a great program. It started out after World War II. We had a little over 200,000 soldiers that died in World War II. And most of these men were married. And so the families were left without the father, and the mothers needed help. The children were orphans and the mothers were widows. Well, the children weren't orphans, but the children were fatherless and the mothers were widows. So the federal government started AFDC, Aid to Families with Dependent Children, and they started sending these women a check based on how many children they had. And it was the right thing to do. Well, those children didn't stay children forever. They grew up. But after they grew up, the money was still in the system. And it was one thing, nothing is more permanent in Washington, D.C. than a temporary government program. Let me say that again. It is nothing more permanent in Washington than a temporary government program. We can talk about COVID and how all that COVID money was supposed to disappear as soon as COVID was over with, and you see it is still there. Budget went from $4.5 trillion to $7 trillion because they didn't send the COVID money back. AFDC was the same thing. So the 60s come, 1945, World War II is over. The 60s come, and you still get those billions of dollars in the system. But now this money is going not to women whose fathers have died in war, but to women who are just not married. And it starts a terrible trend in America where women are saying, oh, if I get pregnant, I don't have to get married anymore because I can get on these government programs and I don't have to worry about a man. Well, Patrick Moynihan wrote about that in the Moynihan Report and told Lyndon Johnson that he needed to change that and he needed to hook that money up to women getting married again to make sure that the black family, especially because we were definitely going down that road, that the black family would not be torn apart. LBJ said, let's do it. In his book, Bearing the Cross, David Garrow writes about this and said that when Moynihan took this to Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights community to sign off on it, the civil rights community went crazy on Moynihan, refused to do it. And the feminists in the movement said that instead of putting the man back in charge of the family, we want to use this money to put the woman in charge because we think that marriage is like slavery. They went to LBJ and said that if you do this, we're going to come against you. We're going to tear you down. We want this. And LBJ put the man in-house clause in welfare. And it said that if the man was caught at home, the woman could get no money for welfare. And if she was not married, she'd get money. And for every child she had, she'd get more money. That's how it started. So Uncle Sam became the daddy. And black women, of course, started listening to these ugly white feminist women. And they said, well, you don't need to get married to that man, then you can get the money from the government, and you don't need him around the house telling you what to do. They said, yeah. And then you started all this foolishness like, I don't need no man, and I can raise my children on my own. And in one generation, it went from 80% of the children being born to two-parent families in the black community to 80% being born out of wedlock. Then this thing bled into the white community, and now we got chaos. You have women trying to raise men. And I'm going to tell you something. It's a very, very rare occasion when they do that well. So it didn't take very long where you had a bunch of sissies or where you had a bunch of extremely violent young men walking the streets of America. They were one or the other. Because they did not have a man or a father in the house to temper these boys and raise them. No discipline in the house, chaos. The one thing that takes a man and settles him down and gets all the wildness out of him is when he has to take care of his children and take care of his home. And that was taken away from him. So what happens? All day in the streets, hip hop, getting 4 and 5 women pregnant. Everything went wild. And the whole structure started coming apart. And because the discipline was gone, because the men were going out the house that demanded the boys would get jobs and that the boys would leave out of their houses at a certain age, because all of that was gone, our society started unraveling. And the liberals and the Democrats loved it. Ralph Abernathy wrote in his book, And the Walls Came Tumbling Down, that when he came to the black caucuses in the 80s and told them, say, hey, man, this welfare state is destroying us. We got to do something about it. He said something curious happened. He said it pleased them to see 2 and 3 generations of black families stuck in welfare because they can control them. Oh, yeah, they want you on the government program, baby. They didn't want you working for a living. And the whole thing started unraveling. Well, now, in the last 10 years, they've taken it to a whole nother level. It has gotten to a state of insanity where they're saying that men can go to women's bathrooms, that men can compete against women on sporting teams, that men can go to and do time in women's prisons. And we as a society is actually sitting back, debating these issues in the cold light of day like they're supposed to make some type of sense. Y'all think I'm lying, don't you? The reason why this idiocy is even being talked about is because real men, maybe you can call them real men, are quiet. And it's time for this to stop. You have to tell people who you are, or they will decide for themselves. And it's time for men, again, to start telling people what a man is. Absolutely, positively, no doubt. And the one thing, and the one way you talk about what a man is about saying what a man ain't. Man is not a guy that walks around with makeup on his face, a wig, high heels, and a skirt. We need to put him in a whole other category. And he's not a woman. I don't know, maybe we should start calling him a it. What about that? They're taking these young men at a very early age now, during the time when they were supposed to be reared and taught about masculinity and being a man. They are allowing the public educational system and the internet to tell these children at 4 and 5 and 6 years old, you can decide what you want to be. Why would you do such a thing to a child? Okay, how did it used to be? Child's born. Doctor would say, you have a boy, you have a girl. Parents would say, thank you. They take the child home and immediately start rearing the child into their gender roles. The father would take the son and start teaching him. The mother would take the daughters and they start teaching them. And then at times, they would reinforce each other. The mother would tell the boy, boys act this way. Father would tell his daughters, girls act that way. This is reinforced until the child gets it. By the time they're 5 and 6 years old, you don't have to reinforce it too much any longer. The children will reinforce it to each other. You know, there's this time in America. You know, Thomas Jefferson writes about it in his Declaration of Independence, where we had these things called self-evident truths. Jefferson said we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. What is a self-evident truth? A self-evident truth is a truth that I should have to explain to you. We all agree on. We teach our children these self-evident truths when we start teaching them to talk. And the child learns them quickly. So, baby, what is that? That's a dog, baby. See, that's a dog. That's a couch. That's a couch. That's television. That's television. And before long, the child gets it. We all agree on what these things are. Now, like Babel, Satan is coming into our midst, and he's taking all these self-evident truths away. And the language is contrary, and we're all confused. And God is not the author of confusion. Y'all in the streets now, you don't even want to say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am to somebody because you don't know whether it's a man or a woman. You don't want to help nobody because you don't know whether you're helping a man or a woman. I don't want to give a grown man the type of respect and social cues that I give a woman. I treat women and men differently. And if I think that you're a woman and I'm treating you with the passiveness that I treat a lady, opening the door for you, putting out the chair for you, saying yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, to you, then I come to find out you're a man, I'm going to have an attitude about that. I'm not going to appreciate that at all. I treat a man much differently than I treat a woman. And I'm supposed to. I stand when a woman enters a room. I take off my hat when I greet her. I shake her hand in a different way. I open the door and step back for her. I pull out the chair for her. I show deference to her. I speak to her differently. Now we don't even know the difference. Ask Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's been walking around bragging, strutting around telling everybody she's the first black woman on the Supreme Court. Harvard graduate. She's probably one of the smartest women in the world. But she's a Democrat, which also means she's one of the stupidest. Simple question for Marsha Blackburn. You've been walking around bragging for the last 3-4 weeks, hollering about you, the first black woman on the Supreme Court. That's right. Tell me what a woman is. Ketanji said, I'm not a biologist. Ketanji Brown Jackson knows what a woman is. So what's going on here? You know what's going on here? The Democratic Party has been taken over by a group of perverts in the LGBTQ movement whose main goal is to destroy manhood in the United States of America. Because how can you take over the house unless you first bind the strong man? They know what they have to do. First, they got to destroy the man. That's who they're after. In our Bible, when the children of Israel were getting too numerous in Egypt, in the land of Goshen, and Pharaoh said, we have to do something. Let's be wise. Let's do something before they outnumber us and come kill us. Went to the midwives. And they said that when you see a girl child, let them live. But when you see a boy child, kill him. Kill him. Yeah, that's what the Democrats did in the 1990s with the crime bill. And he locked up millions of black men in penitentiaries all over this country, destroyed a whole generation. Kill them. Locked up black men. Locked them up. Like dogs, some of them still in jail. Kill them. The abortion clinics all through the black community. Kill them. Drugs, murder, hip-hop. Kill them. And the ones that survive, effeminate, Now look at our birth rate. To replace ourselves, we're supposed to be at 2.1. Instead, we're at 1.6, and we've been there for almost 10 years now. A death spiral. I heard Osama bin Laden made a statement, said that Islam will defeat the West with its womb. What was bin Laden saying? Don't worry about them. They're going to kill themselves. Their decadence, their immorality, it's going to take them out. The earth is going to vomit them out. So now what have they done? They have actually did something that I never thought that I would live to see. They've turned men into women, and they are applauding. Man, I'm watching this thing on television. Got men who were married and have children. These men now are leaving their wives to live out their lives as gay men. Sleep with other men now. See, I don't understand that. And society applauds it. I saw this movie, American Fiction, about this black family. Side story in the movie was this brother, he was a doctor, plastic surgeon, got divorced because his wife had caught him in the bed with another man, and now he was living this openly gay relationship with 2 and 3 men at the same time. And the movie showed all of this in a positive light. And the family, the black family, was supposedly accepting of it. Ain't no big deal. Try that in my family, see what happens. But they're trying to brainwash you into believing that this type of insanity is sane. And it's all coming from Hollywood. It's all coming from the Democrat Party. It's all coming from hip hop. It's all coming from these weirdo atheists and perverts. And I am telling the Christian people in America, don't fall for it. I'm telling the men of America to stand up. Show yourself as men. You can't so much control women. Women are going to do what they want to do. But what you can do is make sure you love your children. Make sure you take care of your children. Make sure there's always a place for your children. Make sure that you read your Bible with them. Make sure that you tell them that, teach them their history, their heritage. Make sure you tell them every day that you love them. You can say that to your wife, too. But as we know now, 85% of all divorces are started by the women. The feminist movement has gotten into their heads. And you can't make them stay if they want to go. So if they go, what you got to do? Can't do anything. But you love your children. And make sure your children know that you love them. Make sure you're always close to them. Make sure that you pray for them. Make sure that you pray for them. And God will do the rest. See, they're trying to censor us. They're trying to shut us down. I was recently censored and banned from Westminster College in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yeah, I'd set up to go up there and do a nice speech for the Young Americans Foundation. And they said, nope, don't want Vince Everett Ellison up here. You know why? Because they can't break my arguments. See, if they could break my argument, they would have had me up there and they would have embarrassed me. Oh, they would have loved to have my black behind stand up there and just beat me down, right? They'd have loved that. But they had seen Vince Everett Ellison in work, and they seen me in action. And they know that I was going to show up at Westminster College, and I was going to slap them around that they were the sissies that they were, and they didn't want to have any parts of me. The brave don't run. The brave don't censor. I'll take on anybody, anywhere, anytime, any debate, because I know that I'm right. I know where I stand. Long as I got Jesus Christ and my Bible backing me, ain't nobody gonna beat me.
My hometown, Haywood County, Tennessee, where I played football, where I grew up, where I learned my values, did this great centerfold, this great piece for me. Isn't it beautiful? I'm so pleased with it. So proud of my people in Haywood County, the things that are happening there, how it's becoming prosperous and how it's still got the greatest football team in the state, Haywood County Tomcats, where I played and my brothers played. They celebrate the successes of the people that grew up there, and I just happen to be one of them. And I thank them for putting this in their Hello Haywood magazine. Haywood County, Brownsville, Tennessee. Y'all should go visit. It's a beautiful place. Just recently, I spent time, did a New England tour, visited 4 states I'd never been to before. Massachusetts, Vermont, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire. Spent good time with Hal Sutcliffe up there. Reverend Kraft, PhD, Dr. Willie Soon. Stephen Kraft's a great man of God. Harvard, PhD, School of Divinity. I had this opportunity to visit Lexington Green, where the first shot from the American Revolution was fired. And the redcoats were coming to disarm the colonists. Yeah, that's why they came, to disarm them. And they said, give us your weapons. They said, come take them. And then a shot that was heard all over the world was fired. And Americans beat the most powerful army in the world and gained their freedom. See, those were men. Fought them for 7 years in the wilderness. Those were men. When King George said, I'm going to kill every last one of y'all. They wrote at the end of the Declaration of Independence, we pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. See, those were men. Civil War. Again. They had to fight to save this country, y'all. Based upon these American values that we all hold dear. We're losing them. Because of these low-down, dirty, nasty Democrats who for the last 220 years have done everything that they can to destroy this nation. But we're not going to let them do it, you guys. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president of the United States of America. When he was elected, Democrats went crazy. They decided they were going to destroy the United States of America. So they split. Southern states started their own country called the Confederacy. At the time that they succeeded, the 15th president, his name was James Buchanan, did nothing. Lincoln won his office in November of 1860, but he didn't take office until March of 1861. So that left about 5 months for the Confederacy to succeed and plan and lead, and Lincoln was a lame duck. He was screaming at Buchanan, you got to do something to stop this, and Buchanan would do nothing. By the time Lincoln had gotten into office, all of this had happened. And he was in a situation where no other man in the history of the world had ever been in. Lincoln had to stand before Congress and tell Congress what he was going to do. As a young president, right out of the sticks of Illinois, Springfield, Illinois, he had to stand before Congress with a divided nation and tell them what he was going to do. At the end of his speech, Lincoln gave this great statement that I will never forget. And every time I read it, it reminds me of what America essentially is. I'm going to read it to you. This is not a very, very well-known speech, but Lincoln was a wordsmith, and he was great at what he did. This is what Lincoln said. I have this speech written at the end of Crime Inc. Lincoln said, this is essentially a people's contest. Talking about the war. It's a people's contest. On the side of the Union, it is a struggle for maintaining in the world that form and substance of government whose leading object is to elevate the conditions of men, to lift artificial weights from all shoulders, to clear the paths of laudable pursuits for all, to afford all an unfettered start and fair chance in the race of life. Wow, isn't that amazing? May I read that to you again? Lincoln said, it is essentially a people's contest. On the side of the Union, it is a struggle for maintaining in the world that form and substance of government whose leading object is to elevate the conditions of men, to lift artificial weights from all shoulders, to clear the paths of laudable pursuits for all, to afford all an unfettered start and fair chance in the race of life. To elevate the condition of men, to lift artificial weights from all shoulders. Artificial weights. In his book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, Covey talked about people that fail. He said one of the things that they do, they have imaginary barriers in front of them. Imaginary prejudices keep them from going forward. It's all up here. And 150 years before COVID, Lincoln said that the United States government is to lift artificial weights from all shoulders. The Democrat Party is a party that not only will not lift the artificial weights from your shoulders, they will place them on your shoulders. They will tell you that you cannot make it because of the color of your skin, an artificial weight. They'll tell you it's your gender, an artificial weight. They'll tell you it's because of your sexual orientation, another artificial weight. They'll tell you it's because you're black, you're poor, you're short, you're ugly, your hair nappy. We're all hurt. It is not what happens to you. It's how you respond to it. We have to recognize that these people's primary goal right now is to strip every man of his manhood. Not to make him a woman, make him a beast. A genderless, mindless, godless beast. Sulking around like an animal. Because if you stand as a man, you stand in the image of God. And they cannot let you ever have that. Go to my website, y'all. VinceELlison.com or VinceSpeaksTruth.com. There, you'll find my great documentary, Will You Go to Hell for Me? We're talking about how the Democratic Party is evil organization. This organization of perverts and weirdos. If you vote for them, you are going to send your soul to hell because the stuff I'm telling you about today, how they're emasculating men and destroying families and all this kind of stuff, we got to turn it back. Then you look at my first book, Iron Triangle. Iron Triangle started it all. Again, Book Authority gave it number 61 of the greatest political books ever written. And then you go and you look at 25 Lies. It's a handbook to tell you about the Democratic Party, how they're an evil institution. But it will tell you about their 25 most horrible, seductive, damnable lies, and then it tells you how to refute them. so that when it comes time to debate these liberals, you can defend yourself, but you can also give it to them, and it might turn them away from this evil, wicked institution. And then there's Crime Inc. Crime Inc. tells you how the Democratic Party is a criminal organization, y'all. Look at where they rule. Dope, fighting, murder, terrible schools. It's a warning to get away from this pack of evil weirdos. My friends, I am here to wake you up. Hope I did you some good today. Hope you now understand who your enemy is. I hope you understand now who's feminizing your sons. Hope you understand now who's sexualizing your daughters and your children. It is this evil institution called the Democratic Party. And I want you to join me every week, because it is my goal in life to expose these horrible individuals. And every week I'm going to bring the heat. So next week, join me for another edition of the Vince Everett Ellison Show.